I have something special to show you guys. It is a wallet. And a wallet is a very curious thing because a wallet, if you look into it, it has you can tell a lot about who owns it, right? There's a picture of someone's sweetheart in it, or a lucky coin from a far off place, or even receipts to their local store. And I found all of this in this wallet. But the funny thing is that this wallet is a stolen wallet. Now, I didn't steal it, just to make that clear. I bought it, though, in a place very far from here in Bangkok in a black market among many other stolen wallets. And the reason why I bought it is because it suddenly made me think of something. It made me think that the future of money is changing, right? It's going to be completely different. I don't know if we're going to be using wallets much anymore. Now, I traveled around the world for 1 year using only one Bitcoin. And it opened up my eyes in ways that I couldn't even imagine, but I'll introduce it to you guys. Because 2 years ago, I was sitting in my backyard with my best friend, and we were knocking back a couple beers. And he tells me, and this is before I knew anything about Bitcoin or blockchain, he tells me that one Bitcoin is worth $2,400. And I put my beer down and I said, what? $2,400 for this magic internet money? These frequent flyer miles? What are you talking about? And he completely ignored me and he said, you know how much beer that could buy? But it made me curious. And I went home and I researched and I researched and I researched about Bitcoin, blockchain, triple ledger, decentralized, all sorts of crap. And it really made me think that the future of money is changing and it could even be Bitcoin. But how? Why? Well, to answer this, to examine this, we need to look at money itself and what makes money money. And then we need to compare it to Bitcoin, right? So money needs several important things. It needs more than four that's on up there, but I'll only highlight these four big important ones. And that is divisibility, portability, acceptance, and scarcity. So let's start with divisibility, right? Here I have, where is it? Oh, there's the stolen wallet. Put that in my back pocket. Here I have my wallet. Now it's not stolen yet. And inside it, I have, not that guy. Oh no, it's gone. That's too bad. I had 20 zloty in here, see? And it's already stolen. Somebody took it during lunch. Because goodness knows I didn't use it. So I'll just use what's up there to illustrate, right? Regular traditional fiat money is divisible. It's divisible up to 2 decimal points. So if I go into a Starbucks, I can take 100 zloty, that piece of paper, and I can be confident that if I just buy something like a small cup of coffee, that's fine, because the barista will give me back change, all right? This is divisible. Is Bitcoin divisible? The answer is yes. It's divisible up to 8 decimal points. That means that I could technically buy something for 0.0000001 Bitcoin. I don't know what that would be, but I could do it. So check 1 for Bitcoin being money. 2, right? Portability. That 100 zloty bill is very portable. You can fold it, it's lightweight, you can take it. It's better than the money that we used to have, like skulls and bones and puka shells and things like that, right? It's very portable. Is Bitcoin portable? Even more so. You can put your Bitcoin on a piece of paper. You can store it on a USB stick. You can even store it up here. The private key, you can store it up here if you're smart enough, which I'm not, so I don't store it on there. My brain. Check 2. 3, acceptance. This is a paramount point about money. It needs to be accepted. It's what separates monopoly money from real money, right? It needs to be accepted. But here we enter a very curious thing about the money we use and love to use every day. A gray area, if you will. Because if I take that 100 zloty bill and I go out after this TED Talk, I can use it. It's accepted, no problem. But what if, all right, what if I still had it in this wallet? Let's just say it's still there. And I just dropped it, kind of like that, right? Like, whoops, you know, it just fell out of my pocket. And I didn't notice, because I'm not terribly situationally aware. I just keep going, I keep walking. And somebody comes over and they pick it up. And they're like, oh my God, a wallet. Oh, someone's ID, I could return it to them. Nah, I'll just take all the money. And they take the money out of this wallet, and they go around here, and yeah, it's accepted, it's fine. But what if they go to Germany? What if they go to Ukraine? Can they buy a beer there? Can they buy food? No. What if they hop on a flight and go to Japan? What if they go to Mexico? They need to go to an exchange to exchange it for local fiat money, right? But what if they don't go to an exchange? What if they really want to get some tacos in Mexico or some cerveza, right? Can they use that Polish money? They can't. They can't. It's not accepted. So here we're starting to see the gray area, right? And then this was the thing that fell out of my pocket, and I still have it. See, it's a $2 bill from the States, from where I'm from. It's my lucky $2 bill. It's been with me through 20 countries, all around the world for a year, and I still have it. Why do I still have it? Well, this is American money. This is arguably one of the strongest currencies in the world. And yet, everywhere I went, I couldn't spend it. I couldn't spend it in the Philippines. I couldn't spend it in Myanmar. They wouldn't accept it. Funny enough, if I went to Starbucks, an American company based in Seattle, not far from where I got this $2 bill, if I went here to Starbucks, they wouldn't accept it. Local currency only. So here we see this murky gray area that the money that we know and love it's not accepted. So that's why I went around the world on one Bitcoin, because I wanted to test acceptability. I wanted to test if that Bitcoin would be accepted in these different countries. So what did I find out? Well, I'm proud to say that in Shenzhen, in China, I went to a little pub called Bionic Brew, and I bought a burger and beer for just 0.03 Bitcoin. Then later on in Cambodia, in Phnom Penh, there we go. I went to a hotel, and they also accepted it, right? And then in Amsterdam, I bought a little bit of absinthe, which was delicious, for Bitcoin. Everywhere I went, it was accepted. Now, granted, this isn't a rosy story. I had to really look for these restaurants, these taxis, these modes of transport, these hotels. I had to look for them. But keep in mind that Bitcoin is still very young. It's a global movement that's new. And so it could be a global currency if we give it a little bit of time. But how? How is it that we have, for the first time, a digital scarce currency? How is that possible? That's what we need to examine next. Because we've had the internet, we have digital things for a while now. How come is it that it's, for the first time, we have digitally scarce money? Okay? This is where we come in with another big point about money. It needs to be scarce. If I take that 100 zloty bill and I go to a copy machine and I'm just printing out these bills and just, they're accepted everywhere, then suddenly they're worthless. Completely worthless. So what does the government do? They have anti-counterfeiting measures. And they employ them to make sure that these bills we have are scarce. They're real, they're genuine, they have all sorts of different technology into it to make sure that it's scarce. So how is Bitcoin scarce? How can it also be anti-counterfeiting? And that answer to that is blockchain. The technology behind Bitcoin is what makes it the first digitally scarce currency. So what is blockchain? Let's examine that real quick. Well, blockchain is a decentralized triple ledger that runs on nodes and is powered by mining. Now I hear a number of you saying, huh? What? So I'll explain it to you very simply as I can, but keep in mind that blockchain is like a rabbit hole. It can take you weeks and you still won't know everything about it. So if you're curious after this talk, I encourage you to dig into your curiosity and to research it a little bit more. But for now, we will just cover 3 of the more paramount attributes, I would say, for blockchain technology and what makes it work. First one is immutable, decentralized, and dynamic. Those are 3 very important things about blockchain. So let's begin. Immutable, what does that mean? Immutable means that it cannot be changed. It can't be changed, it's immutable. So let's do another little example over here, okay? Let's say this is 1 Bitcoin, all right? and I want to buy coffee from you for 1 Bitcoin. I have it. How does that look? How does that work? Well, take a look. This is a very simple blockchain here. And let's say that our transaction will be transaction number 1 here, right? So I have 1 Bitcoin. I'm going to give it to you. And the data that goes into transaction 1 is I have 1 Bitcoin. It goes to you on Sunday, May 26th at 4 p.m. That is locked into transaction 1. That's there. And it can't be changed. And then transaction 2, 3, and that first block that you see up there, that fills up. And then that second block comes on top of it, and it locks on top of that block. In a way, I'm simplifying here, but that's how it works. And you have this chain of blocks of information, of data, of these transactions between you and I that cannot be changed. So, why can't they be changed? Well, the answer to that is decentralization. It's a big part of the blockchain. So what you see up there is a graphic of computers, millions of computers all around the world. And each of these computers holds a copy of the blockchain. And they all communicate with each other, and they all speak to each other, and they all make sure that that copy is exactly the same throughout everything. So, if after our transaction, when I give you this 1 Bitcoin, I go back home, and I'm like, you know what? No, that 1 Bitcoin, that never happened, right? Or I go and say, I have 1,000,000 Bitcoin, and I put that transaction on the blockchain, and I send it out to this decentralized network. And all of these computers will look at that history, that time-stamped history that can't be changed. They'll look at it and say, no, you're wrong. You don't have 1,000,000 Bitcoin. You can't reverse that transaction. Get out of here. Right? And that's what keeps it so secure. And there's another very cool thing that I noticed in my travels about this aspect of decentralization. And that is that it cannot be stopped. So when I started my travels in China in 2017, China was banning Bitcoin. They were banning exchanges, they were banning mining, they were trying to just rip it out root and stem. And yes, the price went down, right? It was affected, but it wasn't stopped. Why? Because there were people with their copies of the blockchain on their computers, on their mining rigs in the States, in the UK, in Peru, in Papua New Guinea, and they were all holding it together, right? So the only way that Bitcoin and blockchain could be shut down is if all the governments in the entire world confiscated everyone's computers. And then for good measure, shut off all electricity, just in case someone's hiding a computer somewhere. Obviously, that's not going to happen. That's what makes decentralization so powerful. And I saw this as I went around the world. I saw that it couldn't be stopped. And another thing that I saw, this last point about blockchain, is that it is dynamic. So we have heard in the media that blockchain has problems, that it's slow, that the currency, the fees are high. Those types of things are keeping blockchain from being our worldwide currency. They're keeping it from being used every day by you and I. And those are all fair points. I agree with them. I had problems too transacting with that Bitcoin when I was traveling around. But then I thought to myself, these people in the media who are looking at all of the problems blockchain has, they're looking at it in a very static way. The same way that people looked at the internet and email back in the 90s. Now this may date me a little bit, but I remember when I had to beg my mom to unplug the phone in the house so no one could use the phone, just so I could plug in my modem and send an email to somebody. And even that took a while. All right, so if internet and email never changed, if it was still that difficult, we wouldn't be using it. Forget about it. But technology is dynamic and it caught up. And it's the same thing with blockchain. It's changing. Just this year, we will be having Lightning Network added to it, atomic swaps, and a whole bunch of improvements. And speaking of improvements, when I was traveling, I made sure to go to blockchain and Bitcoin meetups in every major city. And you know who I met? I met people who were working on improving blockchain technology who were so passionate. And they were so into this technology and improving it, they didn't care if the price went up, down, or sideways. They wanted to improve it. They wanted to make the world and finances better and a better place. I met them and I spoke to them. And I found their stories compelling and motivating. And it motivated me to even look at it deeper. I mean, there were companies that I met, that I talked to. There was one company called Beam, for instance. And they're using this funny new blockchain called Mimblewimble, based on a Harry Potter spell. You know, but their technology helps you to have private transactions on the internet, which is great for people who are privacy advocates. Or, for example, what else was there? Oh, people are creating blockchains to put mortgages, your health records on the blockchain to keep it more secure, to keep it from being hacked, to keep it verifiable. And then, of course, a funny thing, CryptoKitties, which maybe some of you have heard. But CryptoKitties, they're your furry little friends that live on the Ethereum blockchain. And here's what's fascinating about them. Because if you own one of these CryptoKitties, it's yours. It can't be copied. It can't be pirated. And yet it's still digital, right? So think about that. Before blockchain technology, and still even now, if the hottest song gets dropped, if the greatest movie gets put online, then it all goes to a torrent site, it gets copied, it gets pirated, it gets taken away and distributed until it's worthless. But with Bitcoin, with blockchain, with CryptoKitties, cute little things, we can own our digital data, we can own it, it's ours. And I find that incredibly compelling because as our world moves into the digital realm, especially with things like AR and VR, as we move into that digital world and spend more and more of our time, our lives in this digital sector, don't you guys want to own a piece of it? You don't want to just be there and interact with it kind of here, but you want to own something. You want to own maybe a collectible from a game or a song you produce or a movie or an ebook. You want to own that. And that technology, that blockchain technology, makes that possible for the first time. So with all of those things together, I believe that blockchain technology will be around for a long time. And I could even say that perhaps there's someone here today in this room who 10 years from now will be working on blockchain technology and will improve it in a considerable, amazing way. And to that person, I say, please send me a postcard. You heard it here first. Thanks, guys.